Hi, I'm Coleman Hayes. This series follows one comedian in one city on one day, kind of captured as it happens. Today, I'm joining Killian Sundermann in DeBarras in Clonakilty before he goes up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful.
I'll see you in Clon.
Okay, see ya.
Seatbelts. Thank you so much for doing this, by the way.
Oh, not at all.
I'm always like, it's gotta sound crazy when it's like, you want me to what?
Just be me.
Just be you. Like, if that's okay.
Let's hope the car goes. RT1, you know, and listen to the news.
You gotta give gotta support local, you know.
Okay, I'm following them.
Yeah, you're following them. So we should all be going in the same direction. Sorry, I feel like I'm a little scatterbrained this morning. So I was like trying to like.
What time did you get up at?
Got up at like 7 a.m, which is fine actually.
Okay.
Like when you message being like, hey, it's okay if we just go a little later, I was like, this actually works. Fucking.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, because it was like, you know, I booked a hotel, which I don't normally do. I don't usually stay down. I usually drive back after gigs.
Yeah.
And but then because I was doing 2 dates in Cork and one of them was Clonakilty, I was like, okay, I better just I better go and book a hotel. And so I was staying in Middleton, and then they had a sauna and a swimming pool, and I'd already spent all this money, and I was like, God, you know. And when you any money you spend on the road, you're like, this is losing me. This is losing me money or whatever. So you're kind of, you know, you're conscious of that. And I was like, okay, I want to use this hotel.
Yeah. There's a sauna. You're like, I better fucking actually get the use out of this fucking thing.
Yeah,
did you go for a sauna this morning?
I did. Yeah, I went for a swim in a sauna.
Nice. So you feeling really like energized and like energetic?
I don't. Yeah, maybe a little bit. I mean, this is my second coffee, so I don't know. But but I guess I always feel a little. You've given so much energy the night before.
Yeah.
So you do wake up like pretty spent, and it's not really like, sometimes I imagine, oh, I'm in a hotel, I've actually got time, I'm by myself, this is a great opportunity to write. But then, you know, you just feel so exhausted that you're like, actually, this is a great time to actually turn my brain off.
Yeah, and just get some rest.
Especially if I'm going to be doing, you know, more shows later. Are they going to let me into the? Okay, they will let me in. Yeah, if I'm going to be later on, you know, giving my all, I kind of do need to reserve my energy.
Yeah.
I feel like gig days are a bit like that.
How many days in a row are you gigging? Like, how many shows are you doing in a row in this moment in time? Was last night day one of this week?
Yeah, and just two.
Okay.
Yeah, because I guess when you're touring comedy, not always. I think they do it differently in the UK and stuff, but in Ireland, tours are just sort of weekends, so they actually get spread out over a vast amount of time. These guys are the people we're following, but it seems to say to go in a different lane.
Should be taking a left.
Oh yeah, look, there's the opportunity there.
He should be. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just do that to see if he picks up on that.
Dave, move into the fucking.
Okay, look, we'll follow them. Oh, no.
All right. Jesus Christ.
There we go.
Sorry. Like, so
people are going to think I was an aggressive driver there, but really I was trying to get Dave on the right track.
That's my this is my buddy who's like sorting me out.
Okay.
Who's like, there's a whole because to come down with you, that's I had to drive down in my car, but we need to get a spin to. Do you know what I mean? There's like a logistical thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But I was reaching out to people. I just thought this was funny because I reached out like, hey, is anyone going from Cork to Clon? And my mum, like, so people respond. I put it to family. My mum rang me to be like, and I was like, yeah, Mum. She's like, yeah, I can't do it. I was like, what, why are you ringing me? You can just, you know, not me. You know, sorry.
Because they feel so guilty. The mothers, you know.
Yeah.
She's gonna feel awful about that.
Anyway, so but thank you so much. So how did the gig last night go?
It was great. It was really, really great. Like, I kind of was, you know, tired, and I'm sort of towards the back end of the tour now.
Yeah. Okay.
And after this weekend of shows, I actually have a month off of my tour.
Nice.
And so I was really like, I've done this a few times. I'm feeling a bit like kind of dry and a bit tired.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes in that moment when I feel like I do my best shows, because I have to really psych myself up.
Right. Okay.
And that was kind of what happened last night. But also it was a gig in a church in, like, you know, right, it feels like you're right on the edge of the world in Ballycotton.
Yeah.
And it's like this old church that it's so beautiful. All the people come out there, they all drive from all around. Like, I was like, is anyone here from Ballycotton? And like 2 people went, me. And I don't even know if they were. Like, it's really like people from out of town come in. And it was just great, and the audience were in a great mood. A lot of couples in. And Ross O'Donoghue, who was supporting, he was really great. And it was just one of those shows where I felt so in control. I felt I could mess a bit. There was a lot of Cork stuff going on, which was great. And I don't know, I love Cork audiences. It's very, very nice.
I'd be delighted to hear that.
A lot of cove bashing going on.
Did you hear? Sorry. There's like, because a lot of cove bashing. What's the most confusing day of the year in Cove? Did they tell you that one?
No.
Father's Day.
That is rude. I actually came out because Ross was my support, and he was doing loads of stuff. There was like a group of Cove people at the back, and for some reason he just went in on them and was just like, everyone was really up for it, but everyone was rinsing the poor Cove people. So I had to come out and be like John Hume, but for Cork, and be like, all communities of Cork can live and work together. And it was really, and then I was asking them, like, what's the story with Cove? And they were like, well, you know the way Cork people love being from Cork?
I can see, yeah.
People from Cove love being from Cove. And I was like, oh, you're telling me Cove is the Cork of Cork? But it was good crack, and the people from Cove came up afterwards, and they said they didn't feel too victimised, which is always a good sign after a comedy show.
That's a good sign. Yeah, Cove for some reason it's just an easy target, I think, for Cork people.
They sank the Titanic. That was their fault. So there you go.
It left Cove, was like, I can't do any worse. And so the gig went really well. And can I ask you, how long are you, when you get on stage, how long are you on stage for?
I'm doing an hour. It's like it gets more every time, but I find an hour is a good amount, especially because this is my first hour, you know, and that's something you really build up to. Some comedians will do an hour 20 or an hour or 30 or whatever, but I kind of find like anything more than an hour with stand-up, I feel people want to just go to the bathroom and get another drink or something like that. They get a bit restless. Even if it's like, you know, if you're doing more than that, I think you should put an interval in, because I don't.
And is Ross opening for you tonight in Clon?
No, it's Sinead Quinlan, so she's opening for me. A really great Cork comedian. But yeah, I just like an hour as an amount of time. I guess comedy that I've grown up watching, like specials and stuff, they're all an hour, and that's kind of what I imagine. You know, you sit down, you watch a show, it's an hour long. But then I saw Dara Brian last Thursday, and he does 2 hours. So
2 hours.
he does a lot of crowd work. He does a lot of crowd work, and his first half is kind of like mostly crowd work, and then he comes out the second half and he does his show. But neither of his halves last longer than an hour, so I still take that as like a you know, people don't want to sit down for more than that.
That's an interesting way to do it.
Yeah, it's incredible. I was talking to him, and he was like, he calls it a pull up the ladder after me thing. Like he's not giving any like bleeding new talent or anything like that. He's like, but I mean, he was just amazing. It was really good, because I was kind of, you know, you're doing a lot of stand up and stuff, and you're kind of not seeing much because you're doing your own tour. And then I managed to just go out. I was like, oh, do I really want to spend my evening off seeing more stand up? And then I saw it, and it just really gave me a bit of energy, because I was like, look how good you can be, and it can be.
Where was Dara playing?
Vicar Street. Yeah.
That was Thursday. Nice.
Yeah.
Fucking, and sorry, I turned that down.
Oh yeah. It's a bit hot in here, isn't it?
Just like.
Wait, I'm going to turn it so that everybody's comfortable.
So we're all comfortable.
Should I be closer to those guys? I don't know. That's the car there?
I think that's a little bit on them.
Okay, I'll go a bit faster. But it says 60 here, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's probably not 60. It doesn't feel like a 60 road.
And I think like really all they're getting is little bits of B-roll. I suppose ideally it might be like, even if this just ends up being a 10-minute video, that's perfect. And it's like, so they could cut in between the chat. So I think we'll catch up with them slowly maybe at some point.
Right.
Is that them in front of them? Let me just see if they've...
Yeah.
How are you finding this? Because like, so like I'm I do comedy as well, but I find the idea of doing the first comedy hour, like for me, that would be intimidating. For me, kind of like, but back up, you mentioned your comedy, people you watch. Who would be like the comedians you kind of watched growing up, or who you were inspired by? Who was like the...
It's kind of a mix, because I started, well, obviously, I don't know, but I started online. So a lot of what I started doing was from a lot of people that I saw doing videos online as well. So I was a big fan of people like The Lonely Island and stuff like that, like their early stuff. So I really liked that kind of online sketch comedy. I also liked sort of Monty Python, and I liked Not the 9 O'Clock News and these kind of classic ones. And then in terms of stand-up, I was really big fan of, you know, like Irish and British comedians from like, you know, Mock the Week and The Panel and Nevermind the Buzzcocks. I remember loving that show. So people that, you know, who would have been going on that, I really liked David O'Doherty, Dara Breen, Deirdre O'Kane, all these people. Yeah, so that kind of stuff. I loved
this guy is
Steve Coogan.
That's not my
that's not your guy.
No, I think I feel like he just might have just driven off. Our guy might have just driven off to
maybe they're behind us.
So you can go straight on here, because we're taking the we'll be taking the left at the next one. No, you can drive past it. I'm convinced. No, my buddy drives a Ford. If you drive past, let's drive past just to make sure. There's no way that's him.
No, because he has hubcaps on his car.
Yeah.
You know.
That's not him.
That's a lad who's on his fucking phone as well, by the way. If you want to film him, Cyclone Mikey.
There's so after this junction, we'll take the next.
This is incredible, by the way, to have an actual Cork person help me through the maze that is Cork. Like, it's genuinely like San Francisco. It's like, so I need to get into the left lane here?
Left lane here. There will be traffic joining us, but we want to be ready for the next junction. I feel like a driving instructor.
No,
right
but
now.
this is it is so confusing. I don't know why it's so confusing, but it just is. What's the name of that big intersection again?
So we call it Spaghetti Junction.
Spaghetti Junction.
But it's a Kinsale Road roundabout is what it's actually called.
Yeah.
So this, my body should be, and so we're going to take the first exit off this roundabout.
Okay.
I'm going to get up to it, and after that, it's essentially straight on to Clon.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
So we're kind of leaving the craziness behind, and we should be kind of settling into. And but how are you finding the first hour, your first hour and two, or like how's
amazing. I think you let things intimidate you, and you kind of go, oh, it has to be the best thing ever. It has to be, you know, so you don't allow yourself to do. And then ultimately, I kind of find that what I need to do is to just book in a tour or book in a fringe show, and then that will force me to actually do the thing.
Gotcha.
And it's gone amazing. Like, every show has just been so good. It's so great, and like, it's really nice traveling around Ireland. You have no idea, so it is a lot of like anxiety, like ticket sales, checking them all the time, and you know, just trying to rework things. Like, I'm a big tinkerer, so I'll tinker a lot. Are
you even tinkering now?
Yeah, I'm tinkering. There's a new bit that I kind of want to tinker with and add in, just because I know it's kind of like, this is the show, and new stuff you should probably put into your next show. But because I haven't been doing stand-up that long, I've been doing it about coming up on 3 years now, which is actually not that long. I kind of find that like the newer stuff that I write is actually better. Like, I kind of have, or it's more in the voice that I have, or that I found for myself. So I like adding them into the show, just because I know that, like, you know, when I finish this, I'm bringing it to Edinburgh. When I finish that, then I can do a clean. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Where are you going in the fringe?
Underbelly somewhere. I'm not exactly sure. I know I'm on at 5 o'clock before Shane Daniel Byrne.
You in the same room, are you?
Yes. Yeah, I think we are. Yeah,
get that young hot guy. Tick tick tick.
Yeah. Bing bang bang.
Yeah.
So yeah. That'll be fun.
That'll be fun. But you were at Fringe anyway with Michael Fry. You did that the pair of you.
Exactly, yeah. So this is like my second tour of Ireland, actually. Me and Michael did a tour together 2 years ago, nearly exactly.
Okay.
And that was a nice kind of like, I guess you think about, oh, my hour, but actually, you know, I've already done an hour, but it was with Michael, and it wasn't just like a half an hour each. We actually did, you know, a whole hour of sketch and stand-up and song and everything. So you kind of get to see the construction of it, and also just managing a room for that amount of time, and yeah, I guess like that was really fun. I'm doing a lot of the same venues as well, so you know, I've been around doing the same venues before, so I kind of feel like pretty
you're
confident.
Because you even know the venues now. You're like, yes, this is here, this is this room.
Yeah. Well, you learn so much doing it on your own. You really do. Like, there's just a lot. Like talking to people about lights. Like, that's not something you think about. You're like, suddenly it's the thing I care the most about. I'm like, well, no, the lights have to be, like, is there a spotlight? You know, that kind of stuff. Like, you really seem to give a shit. So yeah, you kind of, the music, the walk-on song. Like, I want the audience to be as dark as possible, and for some reason every venue wants the audience to be lit up. So it's just some sort of thing. I don't know if it's a fire safety thing or something like that, but like every time it's just a constant battle with me and the person going like, make it darker, make it even darker. I don't want them to know that they're there. I want them to just be eyes looking forward, like you're in a cinema. Because I find with comedy, when an audience isn't aware of themselves, they're more likely to laugh. They're more comfortable just staring at you and going along for the ride. Whereas when they, you know, when they can see the person next to them, it just, you know, it kind of sometimes makes them a little bit more self-aware. And in that self-awareness, you might lose them a little bit.
Lose a little bit of energy, a little bit of laughter.
It's not always true, but that's just kind of, I'm always just fighting for pure darkness.
They always want a little bit of light in the room.
Yeah. I guess it is a fire safety thing. I don't know.
They have the exit sign.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's grand.
They'll die laughing.
I shouldn't have that. It's because of the pyrotechnics in my show. That's why they're so nervous.
I take out a fire thing.
Yeah.
What's that called in like World War II?
Oh, flamethrower?
Flamethrower,
yeah. That's a nice bridge.
And you're going to take, and then once you take this to Edinburgh, is the plan, you're like, is that the end, or is it then like a tour in the UK, do you think? Or
yeah, I think a tour in the UK, and then I would love to bring it to Germany as well. So I'd say I'll do, I mean, at the moment, probably just Berlin. Even though like I like, it's my dream to do Cologne as well, because that's where a lot of my family are from. But I don't know, I'm also kind of like apprehensive of doing my show, because a lot of it contains a lot about my family, and so I'm kind of like,
have your parents and stuff seen it?
Yeah, they have, and you know, that's kind of like a thing, you know, when they're there, they watch it. A lot of it is about, you know, I like living with my parents and stuff as an adult, and so you kind of, you know, performing in front of them, which is fine. Like they're great about it. But
your dad is German.
Yes, and my mum is also half German.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so they're both kind of, but she was born and raised in Ireland. She's very, very Irish. You wouldn't know. She's a day walker. But yeah, they came to Hoth a couple of weeks ago, and luckily it was a really, really fantastic show. And I tell the audience at the end, and that always gets a good kind of
they're
reaction.
Here tonight.
Yeah.
You say it every night, no matter what. And my parents are here tonight.
No, because my dad will say things. He's very vocal.
You talk out loud during the show.
Sometimes he does that. Yeah, if I say something about him, he'll be like, "That's not true," or something like that. You know, because really, you know, I try, because I talk a lot about, you know, German and Irish experience and cultural differences and things like that. And so, you know, with comedy, you can't, like, you have to kind of blend a lot of the different German characters. Like, my dad is actually in the show, is actually, you know, it's also many of my uncles, and it's some of my cousins, and you kind of just blend them all into one person, because it's easier to do it that way. So there's a bit of a hill. People are overtaking me.
You blend them all into.
So some of them he's like,
second.
I didn't actually say that. But I'm like, yeah, but it's something you could have said very easily.
Sorry, no.
So where are these boys? It looks like it's recording fine.
Seems like we are muted. So that might have all not been recorded. But you're fuck it, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
That's showbiz.
I was like, oh. But sure, look, what harm. But sorry, so yeah, you were saying you amalgamate all the characters into one. Your dad kind of feels personally offended. That's him almost.
I'd say it's just like, I think when my parents, my mum, you know, born and raised in Ireland, she kind of knows stand-up comedy. She's familiar with it, and she knows, like, I'm a professional. So she goes out and enjoys the shows, whereas my dad is a very hardcore empath. So when he watches me, he just gets so, he like experiences with me and he gets so nervous that like no one's going to laugh, which is like, you know, obviously I think a lot of people who don't know comedy might have that same fear, but actually, Jesus, you know, obviously I don't have that worry because I've done this 100 times and I know my jokes work, and I know, and I've worked on them and all that kind of stuff. But he'll be watching it going like, what if no one laughs? This very basic kind of fear. Well, they've all bought tickets to see me. They're my fans. They enjoy my comedy. They you know, they're there. They're ready. It's in their night out. They've had a couple of drinks. It's going to be real good. But he kind of gets nervous about that kind of stuff, so he doesn't get to experience the shows for the fun that they are, which is, that's unfortunate. But you know, fair enough if you're mostly in it and it's slagging you.
And do you like where the show is now in terms of where it started to where it's now? Is it like the same? Is it like 90% the same, or is it like not 70% the same, or even in terms of the?
I did this show first in the Dublin Fringe back in September, and I did 5 shows. I did Monday to Friday, and even from the Monday to the Friday, they were very different shows. What you do for your first hour generally is you get all your best bits and you put them together and create some sort of vague arc, which is what I've done. But even in that, I kind of was just messing around kind of with the different puzzle pieces and putting them in. I was like, oh, this is better to start on this, and then you know, I want to put this bit in here and this bit in there and everything. So I don't know, I was the Dublin Fringe is a very experimental place, so I felt comfortable just experimenting. So even from that, it changed a lot. And then
where were you on in the Fringe? Where did you go?
I was in the Smock Alley Theatre.
Boys' school or the main
the main room, and it was great. But even that show that I did, I also have changed for this tour, just because I just want it to be as good as it possibly can be, and so that means like messing around with things. And it's weird. It's a weird way of approaching it, but actually, you know, a lot of times you'll do your new stuff in clubs and everything like that. But you know, doing stuff in front of an audience of people who, you know, have paid to see you and they're really up for it is actually sometimes, you know, not completely brand spanking new stuff, but stuff that you know you may have worked and it's not finally finished. It might be a good idea to stick in just a new bit somewhere, because you can really like see if it works or not in that space. And yeah, I saw Emma Doran doing that a few times because I was supporting her, and she was like, I'll just stick in a new bit somewhere, and so I've been doing that a little bit, and sometimes they just work so well that you're like, that just stays. So I would say in terms of how much it's changed, probably like 80% of what was in the final day of the Dublin Fringe, and then in terms of from the start of the tour, like the first date was in January in Greystones, I'd say it's like 90% similar.
Okay.
So a bit of tinkering. But
do you think you're gonna like? Do you have any plan? Do you reckon to film and release on YouTube the full show or anything like that?
I'd say I'm more interested in maybe releasing clips. I think that putting up a full hour is not, I don't know, I mean, I feel like I'm still developing as a stand-up, even though, you know, I'm doing my you know, my first hour and all that kind of stuff. I do feel like there's a better first special, you know, because the special is kind of a bit more permanent and everything. And there's something to kind of like holding on to stuff as well. And yeah, I think I'd maybe release some bits that I want to throw away and I don't want to do again because I'm just a bit tired of them. So I'll probably film it and then release clips. But maybe, I mean, I don't know, maybe. There's no harm in it. It does sell tickets and everything like that. But I don't know, producing whole specials is like something you have to spend a lot of money on and all this kind of stuff. And I don't know if I'm...
I have to sell the car.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. It's not something I've really considered yet, but it would be good crack to just do like some small show and just do a special recording. It's a shame, I guess, in this day and age where you kind of have to just self-produce it, which costs money, and then just wallop it up on YouTube for free. It just feels like...
Yes, I don't know.
So
much work to give it away for free.
Yeah.
If you were to sell tickets for the next cycle.
Yeah. Whereas the clips, there's some sort of use to that because you kind of can.
But I suppose you're kind of in a unique position, or at least from the outside looking in. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like, because I know a lot.
Oh
of
yeah, you're wrong about that. Yeah, you're wrong.
Look, I won't even go into it. But like, I know some comedians who are like, they'd be making their first special, go up on YouTube to cannibalize it for Instagram and TikTok and YouTube to build an audience for. But you're kind of a little bit like, oh, I already like. There's already some kind of an audience for yourself. You know what I mean? So like. Which so it gives you a little. That's what I suppose you're like. Okay, I have a little bit of breathing room to choose what I want my first special to be.
Yeah, yeah. There's also this thing where a lot of because I started online, I definitely have like sort of a self-awareness about I want to be really good, you know, because I always feel like there's a sense that I have an audience already going into stand-up and kind of skip the queue in some ways. So you're kind of like, I'm always self-conscious about that, and I'm like, I want to show up and be, you know, the best or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of an instinct that you have, and that's natural. And like, you know, you're not always the best, but to strive to do that and kind of earn your spot.
Yeah.
I find that, so I kind of want my, I have that in me. So it's like if I want to put on my special, I want it to be like just the absolute best stuff.
Yeah.
And
do you get that from comedians that you're like?
No, it's definitely just something I've put on myself. I think that I do see like you know, online comics step into the comedy space, and maybe you know, sometimes you know there's a lot of them, and there's a lot of them. Like when I was at the Fringe, I met a lot of like English and Scottish and comedians from all over who were doing social media and also doing. Who also do stand-up, and some of them were doing stand-up before, but I kind of feel like there's I definitely put it on myself, but I'm like I want to be earn my spot and kind of be in
but I feel like
because it's something I
feel
love.
like you've already earned, like I don't know, so I think I would say you've already earned your spot. The very fact that you like, I think there's like I think the old way would be almost an American style, whereas like you like do clubs, opportunities crop up elsewhere. We live in a different world now. You got to create your own opportunities. You've earned your own spot, like, you know what I mean. So I think I chat to my friend who's a comedian, and like sometimes I feel like, and I could be guilty of this too, like comedians can sometimes be bitter creatures. Sometimes. They're mainly bitter with the odd outpouring of sunshine, and I'm like, but it's like it's a bit like anyone I know who's doing well, and I'm like, you have to take your hat off them. They're like, no, fuck, I'm gonna do it myself. And like that's why like I admire like you started online, you've built your own audience. I think that is phenomenal. So you've earned your spot. You've already earned your right. You know. So I hear what you're saying. Though. I know what you're saying, that you were like you want to give the audience the best possible show. Totally.
No, yeah, it's also just to say that these are things. This is more. I feel this, but I don't believe it. It's one of those things where it's just like a very unhealthy kind of professional insecurity that is not something I genuinely believe, but I know I feel it sometimes where I'm like, I bet they all think I'm just some guy who makes 15-second clips or whatever. I want them to know I'm able to do this, so I work hard on it.
No, I know, I know.
But that's good. It makes me work hard at the comedy, which is ultimately the thing I like doing the most.
Yeah. Sure. I'm just checking. I think we've lost my friends. So. Oh, he's behind us!
Ah, beautiful. There they are.
Ah, sorry, he's behind. Okay, he's probably been behind us for a while.
Yeah, I feel like I'm being chased.
Jesus Christ.
There you go.
But you said you're from Clon. I've been to Clon.
I know. Yeah, well, a lot of my family lived there. But yeah, where you were in there? Where were you?
Me and my buddy went to. It was the last time I went boozing heavily.
You were off the drink.
Well, I'll have a pint now or a glass of wine, but it was the last time where I was like, I'm too old.
Yeah. Cologne's a good drinking city.
Like because in Germany, like I love Germany. I was in Berlin for a month, and I love that like you can get cans at the local thing, and just I'm like, this is class. But like we went too hard.
Yes.
And like, oh god, yeah.
Oh no, tell me more.
Like, what did we like? I can barely remember the evening. We were just, what did we do? We was. And
Was it carnival when you were in Clon?
There was like a gay parade going on.
Yeah. I mean, it's.
Was that going on 24 hours of the day?
Was it in
Nice.
January, February, or carnivals there is really, really great.
I feel like it was. No, I feel like it was like March or April time.
I like that you think carnival was a gay parade. It's like this old traditional. See, there's loads of old, old fogey conservative Colner men who are drinking their Kolsch and like with big mustaches and pot bellies going, that's a kind gay parade. No, it's but you obviously had something different.
I had, I thought, that's maybe I just see the leader hosing there, and I'm like, okay.
Oh, I love your queer culture. That's so.
There's but yeah, no, it was a cool city. The cathedral was cool. In the cathedral, they're like
the Black Cathedral.
but they're like, I think they were like, and this is where, if I'm remembering correctly, they were like, this is where one of the wise men is buried. And I'm like, wait, hold up, what? But some critical part of Christian culture, like, and this is where they're buried. I'm like, oh, you're actually claiming that? Like, as in, like, I had that.
It's like if all the pieces of the cross were like put together, there would be like 1,000 crosses. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, the big Black Cathedral in Clon, their Colner Dome, it's amazing. It didn't fall during the war, which is crazy because most of Germany was flattened. Like,
why did that happen?
I don't actually know. Something happened, but I don't look into these kinds of things. I'm not a history guy.
Who can get into it? So far ago.
There was many people on many sides doing many different things.
I just saw your reel about America being like,
oh my god.
What are we going on now? Are you a fan of history? You a big
I love it. Yeah, I do love history.
Do you ever listen to The Rest is History?
I love those dudes. And then I like the history of Rome.
Is that a podcast?
The history of Rome. Oh, it's fantastic.
Wait, the whole podcast is just about Rome?
Yeah, it's one of the best ones. What's his name? Something Duncan. But it's like one of the iconic podcasts. Started back in like 2009 or something.
He's
years
still
years
making
ago.
it just
No,
on
he
Rome.
did. It was a whole series. He started from like the start of Rome and then finished sort of.
Oh, right, okay.
I think when kind of the emperors turned into the popes, I think that's kind of when he stopped. But it's amazing.
Like, that's enough Rome now.
It's hard to say when Rome ended. Some people say it ended in like 1000 AD. So he just chose a point. I think somewhere around 500. But it's a very, very good. It's really good for like consuming a lot of history in a very relatable, kind of slightly humorous way. The guy's brilliant. He does also Revolutions. That's what he moved on to. Revolutions podcast. He's brilliant. Really
so like
good.
almost like this, the few seasons on Rome are almost like serial, where there's like, we'll take one thing, dive in, and that's it done.
It's more. He literally starts and does 15 to 20 minute episodes, just going through the entire thing. It's really amazing. It's very, very fun. There was that whole thing about like how often. Ask your boyfriend how often he thinks about the Roman Empire. And it was like, for me, it'll be how often do I not think about the Roman Empire? Like, I genuinely am constantly aware of it. It's a constant thing. I look at everything, I'm like, Roman history. I don't know, it fascinates me. It's a real stupid bro-y guy thing. But I like it. I don't know why.
I'm fascinated by history. I used to do this bit, but it never worked. Did you ever hear of the Coventry Conundrum?
No.
So during World War II, the Allies broke the Enigma code, and so they could figure out where the Nazis were going to bomb, and they found they're going to bomb Coventry.
Yeah,
and they're
been
like,
there, the cathedral.
And they're like, should we warn Coventry? And it's the Coventry Conundrum, because if you warn them, the Nazis know we've broken the code. And I used to do this bit where I was like, but I've been to Coventry. This was no conundrum at all.
That's good.
I was like, this is going to solve two problems at once. I've been meaning to get rid of Coventry in a while. But no one ever. I was like, is this too deep into history? Like, is it too like,
No, you explained the setup there. It's fine.
I think it might be best
left here.
Yeah, to go around Bandon. You could go through or go on the bypass, but you go through, you could get fucking caught forever.
We'll go around Bandon. Sorry, Bandon. We will abandon you.
Where
are you from in Cork?
I'm from. It's a place called Mananbridge or Tracton.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
It's a tiny place. Our nearest town is Carrigaline.
Okay.
So Carrigaline. So I'm halfway between Carrigaline, Kinsale, and Crosshaven.
Okay. So you're not too far from Cork City. It's
No. And like about 15, 20 minutes from the airport,
Yeah.
10 minutes from the beach. I think I'm trying to sell it to you. And I want to show you some
Sold.
property when you want it back.
Well, all the Dubliners are moving to Cork, so
Well, who
be
else-
careful what
who
you
else
wish
is going
for.
down?
It's just people are. I mean, it's just. I mean, I guess Cork is now also expensive, so
Yeah.
there's not really much you can do.
Yeah.
There was a time when the rents here were cheaper, and so a lot of Dubliners were
Coming down.
coming down, going, "Oh, you can get €500 a month rent." and then-
Sinead Walsh
there you
was
go.
down for living in Cork for a bit. And now
Oh, really?
Now she's gone back to Dublin. Like, so like myself and I don't know if you know John O'Keefe, we run like comedy nights on Wednesday, Thursday. We had a Cork night where I brought up like Ross and a few other comedians.
Okay.
And Sinead Walsh, because I chatted to her about giving her a spot, and they were like, could I come on the Cork night? And I was like, what? She's like, I used to live in Cork. I was like, yeah, no worries. But then what happened was there was one or two other people who also had a connection to Cork.
Yeah.
So the Cork night ended up only having like 3 Cork comedians.
Yeah,
and I'm
one
like,
of
I
those
swear to
things.
God, everyone here is connected to
Yeah.
Cork.
Yeah.
You know?
When I was in the Edinburgh Fringe, I remember we were doing this weird ping pong world tournament where everyone was playing like table tennis. And me and Michael Fry were representing Ireland, and it was great. Like there was just, you had to like, you use the ball, had to put the pad in your mouth and kind of hit it like that, and all it was like silly kind of comedy stuff.
All right, okay.
But at one point, I think they call them compares in the UK, which is the MC, was like, is anyone actually from Scotland? And only one person cheered. And then, and he's like, you're from Scotland? Like, how are you? She's like, well, I'm not actually from Scotland, but my dad's Scottish. And we're like, what? Like, what is going on here? There's no one is actually Scottish. I don't know. So it's kind of
The Scottish fucking
that
hate
kind of
the
thing,
Fringe,
you know?
right? I thought they were like, coming into our city for the
yeah. I
month
mean, it
of
would
the
be
year.
quite difficult. But yeah, I feel like
Who
that was
won
Cork.
the competition?
I don't know. I left. It was going on too long. We tried intentionally to get knocked out so we could go to bed. We had to do a show the next day and we were tired. We were like, please, can we go home?
Please let us leave.
Alison Spittle was our manager.
The team manager.
Yeah, that was a good night.
Oh, was that on the second or third last night of the Fringe? That's where there was a rock music thing. Or the
No,
men-
that's Alison Spittle's new metal karaoke, which is an iconic Fringe event where everyone sings new metal and kind of. I guess all these comedians are kind of emotionally drained and having a mental breakdown, and somehow doing new metal karaoke is the thing that gets them out of it. And a lot of people sing quite unhinged songs like, I'm not okay. And you're like, okay, wow.
very to the core of
Yeah, Vern Brady's really singing that one.
So I have to check my phone to make sure that my friend isn't missing us anywhere.
Oh yeah.
But and so what? So you're gonna do a little tour, and then what's the plan after that? You think you're gonna take like 6 months or a year off after, and then like?
No. So I'm gonna do the Fringe in Edinburgh. That's a month of shows.
Yeah.
And then after that, me and Anna, my girlfriend, we have a van, and so
Along
we're-
with this car.
Well, yeah, we got 2 cars. Yeah, I had to buy this for the tour. I couldn't really travel with the van, unfortunately. I did the last tour with it, and it's just not. It doesn't really work. It's great for if you want to stay down.
Oh, so have you changed up the van to like beds and like?
Yeah, it's like a caravan. It's a camper.
Oh, right, okay.
So we travel around it. We done a big trip a couple of years ago, and we really want to get out and do it again. So like after the
Ireland or
Fringe,
Europe?
we're gonna do Italy. We've done like Portugal, the Iberian Peninsula. We've done that, and so we want to do Italy. We both love Italy, so
That'd be
we're
class.
gonna do that.
What time? Like summertime or like?
No, I think probably
October,
September,
November.
October, something like that.
Nice.
Just like a couple of weeks.
Nice.
Head off on the road, and that is what I'm really looking forward to doing.
Does she understand, or like is she up to like because wait, what were you doing before you started? Like were you always kind of aiming to move into comedy, like, or like what were you working as before?
I was doing I was a video editor, but I was also teaching English. I was doing a few different things.
You're a TEFL teacher.
Yeah, I was doing TEFL. Yeah. Which is actually a classic job for comedians.
Yeah.
A lot of the people who I worked with were comedians, and I always would notice comedians and be like, that's something I'd love to do. And I'd done some things, like I lived in New York.
You lived in New York?
Yeah, I lived in New York for a couple of years.
Wait, how the hell did you get to New York?
I got a grad visa, went over.
J1 after you finished college?
I finished college and then I moved to Paris
Dude,
because
you've
my
had
friends
so
were
one
over
hell of a
there.
fucking life.
Yeah, I guess I've lived many lives. You should see the show. No. But yeah, I was in Paris and then messing around.
Just hanging around?
I guess I just really like Paris. I'd done my Erasmus there, so I'd lived there before, and I wanted to get out of
What were you
Ireland.
studying in college that actually gave you an Erasmus?
I was doing film and television with French, so and then I did an Erasmus in Paris, and two of my best friends were living over there, and so I went over and just sort of followed them over. But I just knew I didn't want to be in Ireland. It was a pretty grim place, and I was trying to get jobs in Ireland, but I just couldn't. I couldn't get them.
Yeah.
And then those same two friends moved to New York. They left Paris and moved to New York, and I went back to Dublin.
And they're right. They got the grad visa as well.
They got the grad visa and went over, and then they were over there, and they both got like sales jobs and were earning so much money. And they were like, "You gotta come to New York. The streets are paved with gold." And that was I was actually gonna go. I bought a bike, and
You're gonna cycle over there.
I had one dream.
I bought a cycle.
I bought a bike. I was like, "How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Cycle?" No, I had this dream of cycling around Scotland on a bike, and so that was my big plan. And I bought this really nice bike.
That was a dream you had.
Yeah, well, I was like, this is what I'm going to do next.
All right, okay,
and
okay.
I cycled to Paris for the climate
So some of your
protests,
parents, when you're like, I'm going to do comedy now, like, we're used to it. This is like, I'm going to cycle on Scotland. What are you going to do? I'm going to cycle on Scotland.
No, it was kind of, I guess that was my dream, and then Dublin stole my bike.
Someone actually stole your...
2 weeks before I was going to go on this big trip, Dublin stole my bike.
No way.
It took it from me, and so I was really depressed. I didn't have very much money, and then I was working in this cafe, and then I met a friend who was living in New York on a beach in Wexford, and she was like, New York's pretty great, and I had my two friends over there, so I moved over to New York, and then...
What age were you went to New York?
22, 23, I think, 23.
And you were there for like 2 or 3 years?
Two and a half years, I think it was.
That
in the end, yeah.
Living in a variety of places, or were you based in
No, I started in Queens and then moved to Brooklyn, and it was great. It's best. I met some really good. And then my best friend over there was a comedian, and so he was always like, you got to get into comedy, and he was this really good Ethiopian comedian, and he was always kind of pushing me in that direction. He got me to do an improv course with Magnet Theatre in New York. I don't know if you know that one.
Yeah,
really good. People always expect the UCB, you know?
UCB, and then there's the other one, Upright Citizens Brigade.
But I did the Magnet Theatre, and that was because I wanted to do comedy, but I went to a show in Dublin in college, which is usually when people start if they have an interest. And I went to a show, and it was just some club night in Temple Bar somewhere. And I was kind of, it was like me, she was going, oh, this is something I might be interested in. And it was awful, like the show was awful.
It was an improv show?
No, it was a stand-up show, but it was just really
Do you remember?
I do, but I'm not gonna, but it was not
Cold
good.
was on the line?
Yeah. No, it was
Do you remember who
really...
was performing?
Yeah.
That's how bad this show stood out in your head.
It really upset me.
Have you met those people since?
Yeah, but it was kind of, in hindsight I can understand what they were doing, but it was very antagonistic, very not funny, and I really was like, this isn't good. And my perception was that was stand-up comedy in Ireland. I was like, so it's not funny, it's not good.
It's antagonistic.
I'd gone to
aggressive.
David O'Doherty shows and big shows of big comedians, and I'd seen them, but I kind of thought they were just like a different level, and it didn't feel accessible or anything. And then when I went to New York and I did this course at Magnet Theatre, and I went to a lot of improv and some stand-up shows, some club shows, and the Comedy Cellar and stuff, I was like, this is really good.
You're like,
really
this is what I
amazing.
actually want to do.
And also I was doing it, and I was getting laughs doing the improv. So I was like, oh, this is something I can do, and I had a real interest in it, and so I guess like when I started to have an interest in it, the pandemic happened. And so there was no real access points.
Can I ask you, how many followers did you have before pandemic happened? Were you uploading videos around that time too?
So I mean, like 800 or something.
No way.
Nothing.
So just over COVID is really.
Yeah. It was COVID. Yeah, that was. I was when I lost my job and everything, and then I was like, might as well start doing this, and give it a go, and give it a whack. And it was really a way of filling time, and pursuing this kind of thing, and also seeing stuff online, and as an editor, I was like, this, you know, these can be better. Like the standard is low in terms of how people are editing. People have gotten incredibly good now especially because smartphones have gotten so good at, you know, all the different, you know, like I don't even edit that much on my laptop anymore because you can do it all on your phone. But back then they were a little bit less sophisticated, and I had, you know, because I was a professional editor, I was like, I have the software here, I should just do this. Because at the time, even the idea of like another character's voice speaking underneath another clip, you know, like that wasn't even a thing. And I remember when I started posting my videos, people comment underneath saying like, how did you do that? Which I know it sounds silly and kind of patronizing now, but actually like at the time people were like, how did you make the, like your voice and then it cut to the other person and still that voice is going on underneath it? And these kind of basic bits of editing. But now, I mean, obviously everyone is a video editor, and it's amazing. And actually, these and like 18-year-olds are like, they're so much better. Like even, you know, my younger cousins are way more sophisticated, more talented than me at editing because they grew up with it and they're just instinctive and fantastic at it.
You know, it's weird though. I do comedy workshops in schools, right? I go to schools and do sketch comedy to film, and like I get them to edit. But it's weird. Some I find like in a classroom of 25. There'll be 3 or 4 who know how to use it, and everyone else, I would have assumed that everyone, I'm like, this will be the easy part.
Yeah.
There's 3 or 4 who know it, and others, and these are all 16-year-olds, like, what? And I'm like, no way, I just presumed that you'd all be way more
adept
to this, you know? Especially with like CapCut on the phone.
I know, but that's because that's what you're interested in, and maybe not everyone is interested. You were like, if you were a teenager, that's what you'd have been doing because you're, you know, into that, but actually, you know, not everyone wants to make things on their phones.
Guys, why aren't you all wanting to be? Don't we all have a massive ego and want to show it to the world? You know?
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, so that was when I started in the pandemic, and then, you know, once it opened up, then I did my first shows. But I already had an audience, and that was a whole thing as well because, you know, when you're doing your first show, usually you're an unknown person doing a 5-minute spot in an open mic, which has its own difficulties. But then there's also difficulties.
Spotlight on you a little bit.
There was there was like, you know, so many people. Me and Michael Fry did together. Simon Hennessy was there as well, and Emma Doran emceed it, and that was also a thing where I'm like, wow, you know, so many people are going to see my first gig. And usually you can
kind of losing your virginity in front of a crowd of people. Everyone's watching. You're like, this is already intimidating enough.
Yeah, you're not moving your hips enough. I'm like, God, shut up. But yeah, no, that was also a kind of a thing. But it ultimately did make it easier because people are already on board with your particular style of humor.
Yes.
You've already found the people who engage with you and get you, and that does help. But you, I mean, you very quickly. So then you kind of have a false sense of security for your first show because you're like, oh, I'm actually unbelievable at this. I'm some sort of boy wonder. And then, then you do your first club spot in front of, you know, a Lithuanian couple and a German couple who are there for the weekend, and they don't get any of your references. They don't know who you are, and you have to just make them laugh. And then that's kind of really where you learn your craft is in front of those kinds of people and getting them going. Still behind us, don't worry.
They're still there.
Yeah.
So, I wonder where we lost them.
I don't know. Who knows what they're doing?
So you were always kind of creative then, really.
Yeah, and I did make little videos before the pandemic as in kind of character form, but I never really took it seriously until that happened.
Can I ask you a personal question? You don't have to answer any of these.
Oh yeah.
I'm always interested. At what point did because I presume you're paying for your life fully now via comedy, right?
Yeah.
I would maybe go straight. I would maybe go straight on. I think.
Yeah. No, you're right. It does say similar ETA. Yeah. You're right.
Just to take the main road, I think.
Do you want to put the windows down for a second?
Yeah. Sorry, I know it's roasting. Yeah.
I don't know why it's doing that.
I guess it's because it's like if we put on the thing to kill the sound, but. Might just to make sure that they're all.
There's that smell.
get some fucking cow manure into you.
It's good, healthy stuff.
Good fine Cork smell.
Okay, you had a very personal question you wanted to ask me.
Very personal. Killian, I've been meaning to talk to you. All of this has just been a ruse. No, I'm curious when people are able to pay for their lives via their art. That's I'm like, when did that moment come for you, and what was that moment like, I guess?
It took a while. With social media, there's a lot of just making stuff with no payoff. I was probably doing that honestly for about a year with having an audience and having people watching my videos, but not really making money from it. And then I did manage to do that, but then it wasn't very much. So I was doing different things. I was working in like production, and I was doing kind of bit jobs here and there to kind of keep going. But luckily, it was kind of the pandemic, so it was
because everyone was off.
Everyone was kind of off, so I really did feel like I had a lot of time to create. I very stupidly got off the COVID dole a couple of weeks after and went back to my teaching job because I was going a bit mad and I wanted to do something, and then I wasn't able to get back on it, so I did like cut that sweet teat of Mother Ireland. I cut myself off from it, but I was again it was pandemic. I wasn't spending much money, so I didn't really need that much. And then
by the time COVID ended, were you kind of essentially a little bit on the way?
I didn't have very much money, and it's only in the last 2 years now that I'm making a proper wage from comedy. But it got to a point where my main income was from doing a sort of branded social media sponsored posts, which are great, but they're not what I want my main income to be, because I guess I don't know, the anti-capitalist in me doesn't enjoy doing it so much. But also I don't know how sustainable I find it as a thing, and also
because every job is like that's the one-off done.
And I find there's just something in me that I like the idea of having a sort of job that I go to and do, and there's an understandable transaction like a show. People buy your tickets, they see your show, you've worked. It just feels very real and kind of normal, and I like that. And I kind of wanted to, in the last year or so, move away from doing stuff online, because it's generally not, even though that's where I started, it's not, I don't think it's a nice world, or it can be, but it's not a healthy world per se if your entire life is there. So I kind of have done that, and it's been great. I managed to get a book. I wrote a book. I did my tour with Michael. Doing this tour now. Lots of comedy. Live comedy is now my main source of income, which is really great. And then also I did a couple of sketch shows like for RTE. Which, I mean, RTE, there was a lot of money. It was crazy.
Your RTE's highest.
So I got a lot of money to burn. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because I guess having a big profile, and I'm not saying like having people know who you are vaguely, maybe just in Dublin. You might, the outside perception is maybe that you're rolling in it, but actually most of my friends who have sort of entry-level jobs, like that's kind of where I am. And only in the last year or so, because really there's just not that much money in comedy. There really isn't in the arts and stuff. And sure, you might do Vicar Street, but that's like one a year maybe if you're really top. But that's not like you're doing one of those every single day. So, and you only do like one tour a year. You can't really be doing much more. So it's, and that might be the main money that you earn. So it's
just past.
It's like a comedian's doing well when they're doing the same as sort of someone who has just sort of like an entry level job. That's like a good
kind of wild.
That's a good career.
And it's scary, kind of interesting as well, but even AI and all that stuff as to where. But it might be interesting because maybe if
what about AI? You just threw that in there, but I'm not sure.
You know what? I just like to say that. I like to throw that in.
I don't know what AI.
Yeah,
and with AI, I'm like, what's happening?
With AI. There's like, I wonder if AI does take over certain other jobs, or even it takes over enough professions. So we're in Clon now here. So
Yes.
After this is kind of wherever suits yourself.
Yeah.
You park up wherever you're going to usually park.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if it takes over enough professions, I wonder will the government ever have to do, like, you know, there was the artistic wage scheme.
Yes.
So like they might have to do that. If they extended that, I think that would be cool. You know, so that would then it might make living wage as an artist possible.
That would be fantastic. Yeah. No, I mean, I know some people on that, and it's completely changed their lives. It's really fantastic.
But yeah, this is Clonakilty. You're not far away from the site where they assassinated Collins. Like what?
Really, Bell na Blah. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Bell. My cousins live on like just up from that crossroads. Actually, I don't know where I'm not sure where DeBarras is here in the. So
I might have put it in. I'm not sure.
Oh, grand. There's but apparently Dev stayed with my cousin's grandmother around the time before Collins was shot.
Really?
No. Here's what's weird. I was told that as a young kid. Now I've either made, but I could also just made that up.
Yeah.
But they do live around Bell na Blah.
Okay. They had nothing to do with it.
As far as I'm aware. But can't believe we shot him of all people. You know?
I mean, yeah, that's what he said. He said, "I'm safe in my own country or county," and that's Cork people for you, you know.
My friend jokes, that's how we're the real rebels.
It is awful. It is awful. I'd say the lad who was aiming at him even didn't mean to. You just kind of get the feeling where he's like, he's like, "Oh fuck, I didn't mean to." Like, I'd say he was a bit like, you know, when you kind of accidentally hit your sibling, and you're like, I'm so sorry. I'd say he did not mean to kill Collins.
Like, I won't tell anyone, not because he's just like, I don't want anyone to know.
Was he ever named?
No, it was always one of the things that like, no one ever knows who actually did it.
Yeah, Jesus, like that would have been a death sentence in itself.
Collins.
Yeah. No, he's
if ever like HBO or someone gave me like 100 million, by the way, we are a long way away from that happening. But
after this,
this will be.
Are you watching HBO?
But the show I'd make would be, have you ever seen Band of Brothers?
Yes.
And The Crown would be an Irish version of that, where each season takes care of 1 year from 1916 to 1922.
Oh yeah.
Covering Collins, Dev and Griffith, the three branches of republicanism, and how
yeah.
they're all together, and then after the negotiations, they all turn.
History teachers around the country are literally orgasming right now. It's
I just think, I'm like, it's the last
every
time.
student in Ireland would despise you. Oh, that fucking muck again. No, it is. I mean, it is fascinating. I always wanted to see Grania Whale, and it sounds like they're making that. So
Grania Whale.
I just feel like that would be a great Grace O'Malley.
Shit.
You don't know Grania Whale? Grace O'Malley? You only know Cork stuff. You have an intimate knowledge. Your granny was with Dev, but anything outside of fucking Cork, and you haven't got a clue. The iconic pirate queen of
yes.
was around Mayo and Galway.
They're making that?
I'm like, they're making that.
They're making that?
They're making that? No, she's amazing. She met with the Queen of England, and she met her as an equal. They spoke Latin. She carried a sword, and she was met as an equal queen, like very big political figure. This is where I'm going to. This roundabout. I'll turn around and park in here.
Cool.
Yeah, they're making it. They're making a show about it.
Oh, show.
I think it could be HBO.
No way. Who's gonna play Grace O'Malley?
I'm not sure. A lot of people were
an Irish person.
Yes, I think a few people were asking for Io Edibiri, because there was that whole thing about her being Irish. It was like, you know, the Irish Queen should play the Irish Queen. But yeah, that's happening, and I always wanted to see that, or Brian Boru. I thought those two would be really good.
There was some rumor that there's a guy who made a film with Vince, the guy from the Guy Ritchie movie, Vinnie Jones, sorry.
Yeah.
And he made a boxing movie shot in Cork. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
That guy
with Samantha Mumba? Am I thinking of the right one?
Yeah, Samantha Mumba might be in that too. And they were going to film in Cork, but he had written a script for Brian Boru, because I saw him give a speech, and he's like, I'm going to make the Brian Boru film with Leonardo DiCaprio, or at least that was
yeah, I think there was an idea.
There was Anyway, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for the ride.
Well, thank you for. Well, we're going to stay with you for another little bit, but thanks very much for that. I guess I might as well stop these.
Yeah,
And,
cool. Was that good? Was I okay? I felt like
Killian,
I was just very chatty.
Was I okay? Did I do good? You were brilliant. You were brilliant. We just want to try and catch people for a chat. So that's this guy's looking in the window here at us.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop this one.
We're in Clon now.
I'm going to stop this one. And I'll stop this.